What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for the Bleach, the Thousand Year Blood War. This is Core 3, also, I guess, known as the Conflict. With me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So, picking off after that, like literally abrupt
I,
ending.
I was going to say, too, so this, I felt, we kind of mentioned this at the end of the second core, but it kind of ended in a weird way where it just kind of like, it felt like the point it ended off was just kind of weird with, what happens with Yawak or Yuhaba, and then after that too we got that like I guess it was the illustrated guide to Soul Reapers, which was just I guess it was inserted to fill time, and this one starts off just kind of going over what was it, like the last 5-6 I think maybe 6 or 7 minutes of like the ending of Core 2. It is kind of showing us that again. Except maybe, I'm not exactly sure if it was new, but it felt like that segment with Ichigo talking to everybody else might be, where he was talking to them about like what happened, where he was like training with Squad Zero. But aside from that, like everything was everything. It's just everything we saw at the end of Core 2. So that was like the beginning of the episode. And then I guess the rest of it was like, 16, like all the new stuff was like the rest of the 16 minutes or so of the episode. So, but I guess now, like, we see why it ended, like, right at that point at Core 2, because, like, right after what Ichibe does to Yuhaba, where he says he's now the Black Ant, like, pretty much right after that, Yuhaba just, is essentially just like, no, that's not going to work, and just, like, stabs him. So I guess it makes sense. Like I said, it makes sense why they ended it there.
Yeah, and then soon afterwards, Ichibe, I guess, tries to utilize like a different variation of his Bankai, which of course gets countered once again by Yuhaba, which he somehow ends up like literally just, I don't know what he did. Like he just takes out his fist and then closes it, and then it just pretty much like rips apart Ichibe to pieces.
Yeah, yeah. He just yeah, like where he just like cut off his head. Like so I was kind of surprised. I was like, I didn't expect Ichibe to go out like that. Of course, he's not technically dead. Because of what we see happens with him later in the episode.
Yeah, we do get to catch up on what happens to Senjumaru, who's utilizing her
Yeah.
Bankai against all the other Quincy's, especially Uryu.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, at the end of Core 2, we were under the impression, like, Senjumaru really had the upper hand after she used her Bankai and, like, trapped all the Stern Ritter, and I guess each of them kind of having their own, I guess, in a way, like, respective, like, prison for themselves that they can't really get out of.
Yeah.
But, then they all, I guess, collectively get, like that power up after what happens, I guess, with Yuhaba. And, we see Uryu get the upper hand against her.
And then of course, soon afterwards, he somehow counters Senjumaru's Bankai against her, like, literally just, like, constricting her movements to the point where he's able to get a good shot on her chest, which enables the Bankai to dissipate soon afterwards.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of surprising just how, like, I mean, I'm honestly still not fully convinced that Uryu really has switched sides, but I feel like a lot of what he's doing is just to prove, like, to make them think that he is truly devoted or dedicated to the cause. But yeah, it is still surprising to see, like, Uryu just kind of do stuff like this, and I guess in a way, like, really, like, willing to get his hands dirty.
Yeah. So soon afterwards, all the Stern Ritters, along with Uryu, meet up with the Yuhaba again, and then Yuhaba ascends up to the throne where the Soul King resides. So apparently, I guess, well, he pretty much, like, goes and like sees the Soul King encased in like a giant crystal, and then just stabs the thing, and then he calls him his father.
Yeah, I mean, and before this too, of course we see Ichigo and his friends get up to where Ichibe is lying, and we see Ichibe is just, well, Orihime goes to heal him, which I thought was silly because I was at that point under the impression, I'm like, well, he's obviously dead. But then we see him like reform his body, which he says that the way he was able to do that was that he borrowed some of Ichigo's power to, like, I guess restore himself, or like a part of himself. So yeah, and then it's going to take some time before his power is fully restored, and by that point, Yuaba, it would have been too late. Like, he already would have, I guess, gotten to the Soul King. But as we see in this episode, like, it seems like it already is too late. Like, he's already gotten to the Soul King because Ichibei tells Ichigo, like, you've got to stop him before he gets to the Soul King. It's all up to you now, basically, because he's wiped out Squad Zero. And that's what Ichigo goes to do. But of course, as we see in the end of the episode, like Yuaba has already gotten to him, and he's already stabbed him. So I mean, although I would be like really surprised if like it was that easy to just get to the Soul King and supposedly kill him like that. I mean, there's no way there's not some kind of I guess like a defense setup or something for if somebody were even able to do something like that.
Yeah. And there's another thing that happens in this episode. It was brief, but we see Shunsui approaching Aizen in his cell. So it's pretty obvious that he.
Of course, the new opening, of course, like, it already spoils this, because we do see Aizen in the opening, so we know, of course, he's going to come back. Shinsui is probably going to, most likely, what I could assume, like, I haven't read this part in the manga, so I don't really know. Of course, I already knew that Aizen does come back, but I'm guessing, like, what happens is maybe, like, Shinsui makes some kind of a deal with Aizen to get him to, actually, like, help out the Soul Society against Yuaba.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of characters come back for this.
Yeah, I mean, they already spoiled, of course, the Grimmjow's coming back. We know he's gonna come back.
Yeah. And of course, we're probably gonna get a lot of scenes involving what's happening down at the Seirei as well, because there's still a fight going on down there. Well,
and it also does seem like there's going to be, of course, some switching of sides as well, as we saw in the opening, like Basby, for instance. It seems like, he's, of course, we saw it in Core 2, like he's not too happy about what Yuaba did. So it seems like he might, try to betray him or something.
Yeah.
Same thing maybe with some of the Bambis too, because they were kind of pretty pissed about it.
Yeah. So, like, from what I've heard of what happens by the end of the manga, it's like not a lot of like information was told of like what happened to all the other characters after that fight, especially what happened to the Aran cars, the Bambis, all pretty much everyone involved in that fight.
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe that's something that the anime, like, especially since Kubo is trying to sort of fix stuff that that people had complaints about in the manga, maybe he'll address that.
Yeah, I mean, he did kind of like add a lot of stuff from what was in the second chord, which kind of expands upon certain scenes, which which does improve upon it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again for part 3. Of course, we still have part 4 to consider, which is still going to be a ways off much later.
Yeah. But yeah, so far it's, pretty strong start for the season. The only thing I had somewhat of a complaint about was just that the beginning of this episode is, like I said, just pretty much just showing the end of the second core, and then it's mostly just like the 16 or 17 or so minutes of just like new stuff. So that was a little bit annoying, but aside from that, it was like I said, really strong start to the season. I'm looking forward to it, especially since, like, I guess, like, we were hearing some weird stuff before this came out too, that Studio Pierrot is going to form a new division of the studio, which technically is it's called Pierrot Films, which I'm not really sure like what the point of that was, but supposedly, according to them, like this new division is supposed to I guess have a higher standard, or it's going to have higher production values than what we're used to from Studio Pierrot. But I mean, to me, it looked kind of the same as what we saw in Core 2. I mean, and it looked fine already, so I'm not exactly sure what the point of that was, but I guess we'll see. I mean, so far, like, it doesn't look that much different from what we saw in Core 2. I mean, which Core 2 looked incredible anyway, so I didn't really have any complaints about it. So I'm not really sure what like I said, I'm not really sure what they were doing, like why they decided it was necessary to do that. But, I don't know. I mean, supposedly there's going to be some pretty big fight scenes in this core as well. So maybe that was the reason for it. I'm not too sure, but yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.